Hey there, ice cream friends. We're here, the ice cream equipment specialists, and today we're talking about all the different ways you can put ice cream into containers. So for many of you in the ice cream world, you're either doing one of two things. You're either buying ice cream, which means you're probably thinking about one day making ice cream with a batch freezer, or you have a batch freezer and you're making ice cream. And there's a lot of different ways to put frozen dessert products from sorbet, gelato, Italian ice, etc. into containers, and then into those containers they go into hardening cabinets, and then from those hardening cabinets they go into a tempering freezer usually, and then from that tempering freezer they go into a display case or a dipping cabinet. And so we're going to kind of explore the different styles, kind of very gelato focused versus also American style ice cream, and for you to get a good idea of the pros and cons and the different types of display cases there are and how these work together. So we usually use the term racking kits or can kits, and this is kind of in a sense different dipping cabinet manufacturers have different kits to hold different containers, and you can never assume that things are universal because each manufacturer is different. And now while there are some universal sizes for the containers of the product itself, there are not always universal racking kits that match. So it's really important to kind of know what you're looking for and to also be mindful about what exactly experience you want, because there's pros and cons to each different size of containers. Let's first start with kind of the gelato family. We've got a few different containers here, and this is kind of what you'll see in the gelato world. And so you have your really traditional 5-liter gelato pan. It's a hotel pan people might use. This is 5 liters. They also have a wide version. These are some disposable ones on this right side from our friends at Advanced Gourmet or Gelato Supplies. The team there in Plum sent us these, and these are really great for catering. So these mimic the metal and the plastic pans, but are disposable. So if you're doing like just a few runoffs, or you're having issues where you're not gonna really have a 3-compartment sink, and you're finding that it's hard to always be washing things, there are solutions that are disposable, and they have different sizes. You can have a 2.5 liter, your traditional 5 liter, and then your 5 liter wide. On a lot of these, on the bottom, they will have the size, and you can see then Gelato Supply right there. They're a great company for those kind of gelato pans. We also have what's called, the Pizzetti, and Pizzetti machines are a gelato style machine, and this machine takes like a cylinder metal that they call a carapina, and that can be different liter sizes as well. And so this usually goes into a very Italian style case that has the glycol flowing around this, and then it has like a metal lid on top. Very traditional in Europe. And then we also have a Cambro style pan. So for instance, if you go to Global, formerly Kelvinator, one of the best dipping cabinet manufacturers in the US, they make a dipping cabinet that has gelato style racking, but it is meant to match these Cambro pans because some manufacturers or some users really like the plastic and the durability of this and the lightness of this and the cheapness versus the cost in the metal pan. Some things to know, of course, if you do get Global, make sure that you don't confuse it and use a metal pan. They're meant to be in these Cambro sizes, and on our website we give you the exact sizes and how those match. So some of the pros and reasons people like gelato pans. One is that they're usually smaller in size compared to 2-gallon and 3-gallon traditional containers. And then 2, people really like the ability for their scoopers to be able to scoop in a straight line back. We've got a great customer in the North Carolina region, and they have multiple stores, and they love this because they can have each employee scooping easily versus sometimes when you're in a row pack, and we'll show that later, it's kind of hard to always scoop evenly in a circle. You get canyons, you get ridges. It's important to note that there's 2 kinds of gelato cases as well. There are static kind of traditional dipping cabinets that have a gelato racking, and this means that the outside of the freezer is cooling, but there's not forced air. A gelato freezer is gonna actually have forced air moving all the way around and kind of be set at a slightly different temperature. You can still do a gelato look in a static normal freezer, but you just have to make sure that the height and the depth of where this is below the freeze line in the cabinet or the frost line. And so this kind of gives you an idea of different products you can use in the gelato style. Again, you could put custard in here, you could put sorbet in here, you could line this with popsicles or paletas. You don't have to put gelato into gelato pans. This just kind of shows you the market around those. Next, we're going to kind of move into the traditional American side and show you some of the ways that you can use row packs or cardboard containers or Wrap-A-Mar containers. So now we're going to be kind of talking about your more traditional American style containers. And so we're going to start with what I would say, in my experience, is 60 to 70% of the market of people making their own ice cream use what's called row packs. Row pack is kind of like when someone says, hand me a Kleenex for a tissue. It's just the brand name of people that kind of made the original buckets, and there are many different manufacturers of these products. If you're in the Northeast, Dingman's Dairy distributes them. If you're in the West, there's a few Pro Plastics that you can get kind of direct. These are great because they're kind of reusable, depending on the local health code. Everyone I know in the industry reuses these. They wash them out. They have lids that can go on top of them. They have the 3 gallon, they also have a 2.5 gallon, and then some places even have a 2 or a 1.5 gallon. Why I like the smaller sizes is that actually when you're first starting your business, you know, there are stores that sell out of cookies and cream in one night in one 3 gallon row pack, but you don't know. And so the longer you have that product in that dipping cabinet, it's kind of dying in a sense, right? Little slowly by slowly, there's getting some water in there, you know, it's getting more air. And so if you were to have in your first 6 months to a year using smaller row packs, that allows you to kind of really see where your pars are at and to build up that volume and know, because, you know, over a week, this product is not going to be as good when you're getting down to that bare bottom. So this is row pack. And so these diameter, no matter the size, the diameter at the top with these kind of anti-movement rings right here, this stays the same. So you don't have to get different size racking kits traditionally, especially a global, if you're changing the size or depth. When you think about a racking kit, you want to make sure that it has collars, you want to make sure that it has like an anti-movement side to it. That's really important. Now the other areas in the industry, there's one company that I think is great. They're family run, they're from Tennessee, and that is Rapamar. So you can maybe just see their information right there. They make kind of disposable ice cream containers, and they do this kind of really cool rectangle one, and some of them have like different size bending points, so you can actually have it be the same box, but then fill it to different levels. It has a lid that can go on top, or it can fold. They also have one that's kind of like an octagon that will mimic kind of a circle style. They're really quick to reply, really good family business. They're part of the North American Ice Cream Association. They're ice cream shop owners themselves, and it's just a really great product. And why one would choose this over this is because, you know, you're washing this now. If your team isn't washing it properly, there could be bacteria issues. This is great if you're doing wholesale or catering. If you have an ice cream truck, you know, you're filling, you're putting it into the hardening freezer or blast freezer, and then you're taking it to the event. These can all stack nicely and neatly into your traditional 12 dip or 16 dip global display case or dipping cabinet. However, you know, there isn't a racking system for these rectangle kinds, but it's really convenient and it's great. Some of the drawbacks some people sometimes say is that there's going to be a little bit of like leakage, but that's just, of course, like that's the price you're paying to have this disposableness. But in general, I find that most of the industry of people making their ice cream end up in one of these two camps, with maybe some people also doing the gelato style racking. So that's kind of your row pack, and then that's Rapamar, and you can always check them out. And then you have also, we come into kind of, this is what a lot of your wholesale ice cream looks like in these 3 gallon cardboard tubs. You probably would buy this from your wholesale manufacturer of ice cream already filled, and then this would go into what's called a can skirt kit. So this would not fit into the same circle as this, and this is a big mistake. Sometimes people, they'll buy a used dipping cabinet from a manufacturer that maybe no longer makes them, and they'll assume that things will be universal, and they won't. The pros on this is that these are fully sealed, and that way these are great for also wholesale. You know, once you're done, you're throwing it away, you're not washing it, but then there's a cost of, you know, every bucket that you're using, there's a cost involved. Again, like everything else in the ice cream industry, there's not like, oh, this is the best way, this is what works for you. I know some operators for their store are using this for their store, but then when they have their truck or cart, they'll use this, and then when they're selling, you know, if they get to the point where they're selling wholesale, they'll actually have a co-packer put in a container like this. So all that to be said, that there's a lot of options for you in how you display and make your ice cream. Again, that process, if you're a newbie, is that you have your ice cream, you put it into a batch freezer, you extract that at kind of like a soft serve consistency. It goes into a hardening cabinet or a blast freezer. Those two things are different, mind you. And then from there, it gets down to -30 or 40 Fahrenheit, getting small ice crystal size, increasing your shelf life. After that, it's gonna go into a tempering freezer, and that's gonna bring it up to temp for scooping. Some people also put that under the dipping cabinet. Most dipping cabinets have, like for instance, 12 holes up top, and then usually 8 buckets that can fit down below, or 16 holes up top, and then like 12 buckets down down below. Throughout the day, this ice cream that's in the bottom will be getting warmer in the dipping cabinet and then getting a scoopability. So hopefully that's a quick rundown for you of the different kind of containers that you can use. And we'd love to hear in the comments whatever ideas and pros and cons and tips you use. We find that everyone has strong opinions about this in the ice cream industry. And so we'd love to see all that information being shared. Thank you and cheers to your sweet success in the frozen dessert entrepreneurship.